Game. Slim Jesus, the suburban drill rapper. When Slim Jesus dropped his viral hit Drill Time in 2015, many people believed a new face had arrived in hardcore street rap. The Ohio-born teenager rapped about guns, murder, and drug dealing with the same tone as Chicago drill rappers. With a baby face and a Glock in hand, he quickly caught attention and controversy. People began questioning if this white kid from Hamilton, Ohio really lived the street life he rapped about. It didn't take long before interviews exposed the truth. Slim Jesus admitted he wasn't really living that life. He said his lyrics were just entertainment and that he didn't condone violence. In an interview, he openly stated, "I'm not out here catching bodies or anything." That confession didn't sit well with many fans, especially those who believed in authenticity. Slim Jesus went from viral to controversial in a matter of days. Critics accused him of exploiting street culture for views and clout. Others defended him, saying he was honest about just playing a character. Still, the damage was done. His credibility in the drill scene dropped significantly. Many labeled him a culture vulture. After the buzz faded, Slim Jesus struggled to maintain his career. He released more music, but none reached the same level of attention. His story became a cautionary tale of what happens when you rap about a life you never lived. In hip-hop, borrowing someone else's pain for popularity can backfire fast. Slim Jesus is now remembered more for the lie than the music.
Tekashi 6ix9ine, the fake gang affiliation. Tekashi 6ix9ine, also known as Daniel Hernandez, skyrocketed to fame with his rainbow-colored hair and aggressive drill-style music. He claimed gang ties with the 9 Trey Bloods and filled his music videos with gang members, guns, and street references. His image was wild, dangerous, and rebellious, and it worked. He became one of the most talked-about rappers in the world. But behind the scenes, much of it was a lie. 6ix9ine's gang affiliation was part of a deal to gain street credibility. He wasn't raised in gang life. He paid to associate with real gang members for protection and clout. Court records revealed that he barely knew the gang lifestyle before becoming famous. When he got arrested in 2018 on federal racketeering charges, the truth started to unravel. To avoid a lengthy prison sentence, 6ix9ine cooperated with authorities and snitched on his former gang affiliates. This move exposed his fake persona and caused massive backlash in the hip-hop community. Overnight, he went from a self-proclaimed gangster to a certified informant. The same people who backed him turned against him. Fans and rappers called him out for lying about his past and faking his image. His colorful branding couldn't save him from the reality check. Despite attempting a comeback, his reputation remains stained by the lies and betrayal. He tried to say his actions were about survival, but many saw it as cowardice. The Tekashi 6ix9ine story is one of the most extreme examples of a rapper creating a fake past for clout. His rise and fall became a lesson in how far some artists will go to seem real, but the truth always comes out. And in his case, it came out in a courtroom, under oath.
Lil Tecca became an overnight sensation in 2019 with his hit song Ransom. In the track, he raps about shooting people, toting Glocks, and stealing girls. His catchy delivery and confident flow had fans questioning where this new street star came from. But when people dug deeper into his background, they found something completely different. Lil Tecca was a clean-cut, suburban kid from Queens, raised in a supportive family and attending private school. He admitted in interviews that none of the violent lyrics were real. In fact, he confessed that he had never held a gun, never been in a gang, and never committed a crime. It was all fantasy, just words to fit the vibe of popular rap. Some fans respected the honesty. Others felt betrayed, thinking they were listening to someone who lived the life he described. Despite the lie, Tecca never denied his suburban roots. He leaned into it once the truth came out, presenting himself as an artist who just liked making catchy music. Still, the fact that his breakout song was built on a false street persona made some people question the authenticity of modern rap. Tecca became part of the new wave of rappers who cared more about melody than background. Critics accused him of using street culture as a costume to gain attention. Fans debated whether that was acceptable in today's music scene. He responded by doubling down on his musical skills, not his past. His next projects avoided violent themes and leaned more into lifestyle rap. Lil Tecca's story shows that not every artist lying for clout gets exposed the hard way. But it also proves that in the internet era, even the smallest lie can go viral. Whether intentional or not, his early image helped him break into the industry. And even though the truth was harmless, it reminded fans to separate lyrics from reality.
Stitches, the fake drug lord persona. In 2015, Stitches went viral with his face covered in tattoos and his song Brick in Your Face, which bragged about moving massive amounts of cocaine. He built his brand on the image of being a ruthless drug dealer from Miami. His music videos showed him waving guns, surrounded by drugs, cash, and masked goons. But it didn't take long for fans and industry insiders to start asking questions. Was Stitches really who he claimed to be? Turns out, the truth was very different from the story he pushed. Stitches was actually raised in a relatively stable household. There were no confirmed records of him ever being a major player in the drug world. Local sources and even police reports couldn't back up the drug kingpin image he portrayed. People began accusing him of lying for clout. When confronted in interviews, he doubled down on his image instead of being transparent. That made things worse. His credibility in the rap world started to erode. Rappers began distancing themselves from him. The most famous moment came when he got punched outside a nightclub by a member of the Game's crew. That moment of humiliation made the world see him as a joke, not a threat. Even his over-the-top look, tattoos of stitches across his face, became symbolic of someone trying too hard to look tough. While he gained short-term fame, his career never took off after being labeled fake. The lie overshadowed his music completely. Stitches became the poster child for what happens when fake stories crash into real-world consequences. Instead of a feared gangster, he became a meme. The lesson? If your whole image is built on lies, you'd better be ready to defend it. Or get exposed in front of the whole internet.
Bad Babby, fake troubled teen image. Bad Babby, also known as Danielle Bregoli, first gained fame from a viral moment on Dr. Phil, where she said, "Cash me outside, how about that?" Her tough talk and attitude led people to believe she was a wild, street-savvy teen living a criminal life. She rode that image all the way to a rap career, signing a major deal and dropping singles full of aggressive bars about money, street fights, and fast living. But soon after, people started questioning whether her background really matched the image. In reality, she was raised in a relatively quiet suburban setting by her single mother. Many of her stories about street fights and criminal life were exaggerated or made up for attention. Former friends and neighbors exposed how her bad girl image was more of a marketing trick than truth. She admitted in later interviews that the persona she used was part of her brand. She played into what people expected based on her viral moment. The problem was, as her music career grew, so did scrutiny. People didn't know whether to take her seriously or call her out for exploiting a lifestyle she never lived. Despite the fake past, Bad Babby gained millions of fans. Some critics argue she manipulated the system perfectly, using a lie to get rich. Others say it was harmful, glamorizing dysfunction for views and clout. Her career has since evolved, moving away from aggressive street rap into more melodic and personal music. But her origin story still raises eyebrows. It's a reminder of how fast the internet can turn someone into a star, even if the foundation is shaky. Whether you love her or hate her, Bad Babby's rise shows how fake stories can lead to real fame. But it also proves that what's viral isn't always what's real.
Iggy Azalea, faking a Southern background. Iggy Azalea, originally from Australia, took the rap world by storm with her 2014 breakout hit, Fancy. She rapped with a heavy Southern U.S. accent, using slang and cultural references that made fans believe she was from Atlanta or Houston. But in reality, Iggy was born in Sydney and raised in a small rural town called Mullumbimby. There were no hoods, no streets, no gangs, just open land and a comfortable middle-class life. When people found out, they were confused. How could someone from Australia sound like they grew up in Atlanta? Iggy claimed that she developed her accent from listening to Southern rap her whole life. She said it wasn't faking, but influence. Still, many fans and critics felt it was a forced persona meant to fit in with hip-hop culture. Some accused her of cultural appropriation, mimicking a lifestyle she had never lived. Others simply called her fake. The backlash grew stronger when old interviews surfaced showing her real accent, and it was clearly different from the voice she used in her songs. Iggy tried to defend herself, but her credibility was already damaged. Her image as a real rapper was questioned across the industry. Despite the controversy, she still had chart-topping success.
But many believe her career was never the same after the exposure. Her second album flopped, and public interest faded. The fake background didn't hold up once people looked closer. Iggy Azalea became another example of how a crafted persona might bring short-term fame, but long-term doubt. Her story became less about talent and more about identity. It reminded the world that authenticity matters in hip-hop, and that borrowing from a culture without truly understanding it can come back to haunt you. Iggy may still perform, but that Southern act, it's gone, and so is a big part of her early audience.
Logic, hiding his white identity. Logic is known for his lyrical skill, rapid flow, and emotional storytelling. Throughout his early career, he heavily emphasized his biracial identity, often referencing the struggles of being a black man in America. His lyrics painted pictures of growing up poor, facing discrimination, and surviving in a rough environment. But as he grew more famous, fans began to question parts of his story, especially the way he downplayed his appearance as a white-passing individual. Many listeners didn't even know he was biracial until he brought it up again and again in his songs. Critics argued that Logic was leveraging black hardship and identity to gain respect in the hip-hop world, while still benefiting from the privileges of being white-passing. They claimed that he emphasized one part of his identity for clout and relatability, but avoided the other when it didn't serve him. Logic defended himself, saying his father is black and he was telling his truth. He spoke openly about being raised around drugs, domestic abuse, and poverty. But some people felt the stories were exaggerated, or at least framed to paint him as more street than he really talented. The questions about his narrative never completely disappeared. G-Eazy, pretending to be a street hustler. G-Eazy came up with slick back hair, leather jackets, and a sound that blended old-school hip-hop with modern swagger. But as his music evolved, so did his image. In later tracks, he started referencing the streets, drug culture, and hustling like he had a criminal past. Songs like 1942 and The Plan painted him as someone who had been through dark and gritty times. But people who knew G-Eazy before the fame told a very different story. G-Eazy was raised in a stable, educated household in Oakland. His parents were teachers, and he attended college. There's no record of him dealing drugs or being involved in gang activity, yet he rapped as if he was raised in the trap. This led fans and critics to question if G-Eazy was faking a harder background to gain respect in hip-hop. When confronted in interviews, he didn't directly deny or confirm anything. Instead, he deflected by saying he was telling stories and creating art. But by then, the image shift had already taken root. Fans felt confused. Was he the college kid who made smooth party anthems, or the dope boy he described in his bars? The contradiction hurt his credibility with certain audiences. While some fans continued to enjoy his music, others saw him as a performer who relied too much on borrowed culture. G-Eazy never had a massive scandal over the lie, but the shift in his brand felt inauthentic to many. It showed how rappers often walk a tightrope between truth and fantasy. His story became part of a bigger question: how much of rap is real and how much is entertainment? G-Eazy's case proved that even subtle lies about your background can change how people view your music. He may not have created a criminal past, but he definitely marketed one. And for many, that's enough to call it clout chasing.
Post Malone, from rock star to suburban cowboy. Post Malone came into the spotlight with his breakout hit, White Iverson, and immediately people were curious about his story. With tattoos on his face, braids in his hair, and lyrics about the struggle, many fans assumed he had a rough, gritty past. Some thought he was from the streets or had a background filled with hardship and hustle. But as his popularity grew, so did the curiosity, and eventually the truth came out. Post Malone was actually raised in a comfortable suburban neighborhood in Grapevine, Texas. His father was a former DJ who worked for the Dallas Cowboys, and his upbringing was far from the street struggles he hinted at. Post even attended private schools and lived in a large home with plenty of support from his family. The image he gave off early in his career didn't exactly match the life he had lived. He wasn't lying outright, but he allowed fans to assume he had more street credibility than he really did. His early style, filled with slang, trap beats, and hip-hop references, gave the impression that he was deeply connected to rap culture in a personal way. But Post Malone later admitted he was more of a music nerd who just loved all kinds of sounds. Critics called him a culture vulture for leaning into hip-hop aesthetics while enjoying the benefits of a middle-class life. Some rappers, including black artists, questioned his sincerity. Post defended himself by saying he never claimed to be something he wasn't, but the image he crafted told a different story. His appearance, sound, and slang all fit the mold of someone who came from struggle. This didn't stop his rise to fame, though. In fact, he became one of the biggest genre-blending stars in the world. But to this day, some people question how authentic his hip-hop identity really is. Did he mislead fans for fame, or just play into what people expected? That's still up for debate. Regardless, Post Malone's career is a reminder that not all lies are spoken. Some are built through image, tone, and silence.